So I did a couple of shorts about this, but I thought it'd be worthwhile to sit back and talk about this a little bit. In previous episodes, I've talked about my putting method. Now let's recap just real quick. Puttingissimple.com. 5 core modules, 3 bonus modules. The 5 core modules are overall approach, proper setup, must-have mechanics, reading greens, and executing on course. And in order to prove out my method, not only are we doing case studies with players of all levels, which we've done multiple times throughout the years, with everything from junior golfers, high school golfers, all the way up to PGA and senior PGA players. It's never failed. But I thought, let's do some testing on your own, as well as with new students. And so on my own, I decided I'll just buy a left-handed putter and teach myself from the opposite side. And I found the exact replica of my Ping Answer, the current Ping Answer right-handed version. I'm right-handed. Has been in the bag for over, well, almost 40 years. I lost the original one I had, and then had to go find a replacement. It didn't get turned in at a public course. Imagine that. Um, so anyway, I had this same putter's been in the bag for 35 years, and I had to find a replica. And in order to find the replica, I had to go eBay, and I may have found the only one that existed for sale, and it came out of the UK. So I paid as much to have it shipped here to the US as it cost me to buy the thing. But it showed up as perfect. It's 35.5 inches long. They used to come round that off to 36. Regripped it, put the original Ping grip on it, the same thing that I have on my right-handed version. So I literally have mirror images. And um, just full disclosure, 15 years ago in customer golf, I would occasionally just throw a left-handed putter in there if I was renting clubs just for fun to try something different. But I hadn't tried putting left-handed in that period of time, in 15 years. So I put it in the bag this week. I got an opportunity to play on a beautiful Tuesday morning. Was able to sneak away and go do that with some buddies and put that in there. Hit maybe 10, 12, practice putts on the putting green before we went to the course, and ended up with 34 putts for the day, which that's above the high water mark. I always say it's 28 to 32 should always be the goal. 28, 32 putts is the right number. Um, on most days for most amateurs, in the single to double digit handicap range, regardless of how many greens you hit. You should be able to steal some away from regulation, being 36 putts. You should be able to steal some away. On a good day, you can get to down in the 26, 28 range. And then on not so great days, you're in the 30, 31, 32 range. I had 34 left-handed. There was a couple of 3 wiggles early in the round as I was adjusting to speed, and then I mishit one from a distance perspective on the 14th hole, but made a bunch of good ones. Made a bunch of 6, 4, 6, 8 footers. Maybe missed greens, chipped up. Did a really good job with speed control for most of the putts from 20 and out, and just tap ins. And it was, I won't say it's surprising to me, because I'm a believer in the method that I've built. Puttingissimple.com is again, I believe that putting well is available to every golfer. I don't believe hitting the ball 300 yards, or as I've said many times, a 7-iron 175 yards in the air is available to most golfers. I don't believe that's true. But I do believe putting well is is accessible and available to everyone who wants to commit. Puttingissimple.com is an hour and a half of instruction, broken up into the different modules that I mentioned, and watch them as many times as you want. 30-day money back guarantee. Currently spring special for 50% off. There's no lose here. But again, I'm not trying to sell anyone on wanting to putt well. Puttingissimple.com is for those that already want to putt well, or know they are willing to commit to putting well, and they're willing to put the effort in and say, you know what? Because putting, here's the other thing about putting. Once you get it, once you develop I call it your roadmap, or your way of going about it, your framework. I think I say framework several times in the modules. Once you've done it, now it's rinse and repeat. You don't have to learn it again. Golf swings are completely different. Golf swings can get out of whack. You can develop bad habits. You can get muscle memory that it takes you forever to get out of. I'm guilty of that, as any player is. So you don't have to. I mean, yes, in full swing, you're going to need to visit your local PGA pro or whoever it is you go to for swing lessons, and you're going to have to revisit. You're going to get off track. You're going to develop bad habits. I don't believe, because the range of motion is so short within the putting stroke, I don't believe that that's actually a valid challenge in putting. I think everyone can be a good putter. I think that all starts with setting up properly to it. I talk a lot about spine angle, head position, how your shoulders and arms should be positioned in relation to where the starting area of the putt is, um, where your comfortable foot position should be, where your eye line is over the ball. It's so important, and it can be done. You can practice that at home. You don't have to go to the golf course to practice any of that. And that's why I believe it's available to everyone, because it's not reliant on your, a body type or certain, flexibility as a golf swing requires. I don't think that's true. And I've proven that. I proved that, right? By putting left-handed, I had to change my setup position. I had to uh, make sure my spine angle was correct from the opposite side. I still went trail hand low, as I've talked about many times in my modules, that the lead hand low can produce a improper spine angle and cause problems with the ball skidding, because the arc of the putting stroke is on the way down when it's making contact versus on the way up, causing a lot more variables to take place as that ball tries to skid and bounce sometimes even before it starts to roll. But so I found that I was spending a little bit more time, and I mean 2 or 3 seconds more time, getting my posture correct, getting my feet open to the line. I had to actually open my stance from the left side a little bit, uh, in order to see the line better, because I'm left eye dominant, and from putting from the right hand side, I can use my peripheral out of my dominant eye for seeing the apex area that I'm trying to send the ball to. It's a little bit more difficult from the left side, so I had to adjust the openness of the stance to give myself a better visual looking towards where I was trying to get that ball started. But I don't think I don't think it's going to be a huge differential. I'm going to keep doing it. I don't know if I'll go every other round or how often I'll go solely left-handed as I did a couple of days ago, but it's maybe going to be a shot or two differential initially, once the comfort level sets in, and then maybe zero differential from that point, uh, meaning right hand versus left hand. Will I ultimately go back to right-handed because I feel like I'm giving up 2 shots around? I don't think so. The goal initially that I'm working on right now is I'm playing with what we call a short set. So I have a limited number of irons in there, which means I have gaps that I have to deal with shortening clubs up or bouncing shots into greens, which is a ton of fun. Gets creative, and um, adds a different fun element to it. I'm not using a laser yardage finder. I'm going off the 150s or whatever the sprinkler head, or the par three, the whatever the brick says it's in the ground tells me the distance, and then I'm going off of that, middle, to middle of green, and then working from there based on whether it's cut in the front or the back. I'm kind of going raw a little bit. So if I've got a short set of clubs, I'm playing with 8 clubs, and I'm putting left-handed and no laser, you would think that's a huge disadvantage. Like, I'm giving myself like 3 like really difficult things to deal with. And truth is, it's not so far been the case. I've played with a short set at different times throughout the last couple years for periods of time. So that part, I've gotten accustomed to. And when I went short set, by the way, I went with my old blades, my MP29 Mizunos, and so the ball isn't going near as far off of those. So I just look at it as a long iron, a middle iron, a short iron, and a wedge. And then on the bottom side, I have a sand wedge and a putter. On the top side, I have a driver, and in this case, a 5-wood. So I'm handicapped there. I'm handicapped if I don't have exact yardage, and I'm handicapped if I'm playing from the left-hand side. And um, on Tuesday, I shot 80. That gets rounded down to 79 because the last hole happened to be the blow up hole of the day. Not with putter, actually was actually a one putt 7 because I rinsed it on the first off the tee and then re-teed and made a 7 turns into a 6 because of my handicap. So in the books, it's going to look at like 79. In my view, it's 80. The goal was originally to shoot 80 with that short set, no yardage, no laser yardage, and left-handed putter. And so far, I would say that we're on track for a pretty successful experiment. And I would say I'm going to automatically kind of lower or raise the bar, so to speak, but lower the target score. I think 75 is probably now a realistic goal. In the current conditions, right? So we've had a warm spring and the ground's pretty dry and the grass, the Bermuda grass is still dormant. So the bounce and roll shot is very much in play now. As the spring storms get here, the golf course gets wet. There's mud to deal with. Short set becomes more difficult because you don't get as many bounce and roll opportunities. Now you have to figure out how to fly and stop irons that may not fit exactly to the yardage that you're at. So that being said, the point is this: puttingissimple.com is my method that I built over the years of competitive golf, playing with tremendous amount of great players throughout the years, having great coaching throughout the years, having experience watching professional golfers and extremely good amateur golfers throughout the years. So I just put it all together. That's all it is. I can't say that I invented much of it. There's certain parts of the way I teach it that are different, that wouldn't be the same language or the same way of saying it that you might hear from someone else. So that potentially is different than but it's just look at it as like the greatest hits of learning how to putt well, to create your framework, to create your method. And once it's done, it's done. Now it's just simply a matter of remembering and executing each and every time, because maybe that's the reason why putting doesn't get as much attention as it should, in my view, is because once it's set, it's set. It's kind of set it and forget it to a certain degree. Um, you don't have to rethink it. You don't have to have new lessons all the time. You don't have to change equipment all the time. And that's the part about, talking about putting with people is I'm not looking to talk you into putting, spending time on your putting or um, recognizing that putting's a weakness in your game, or that's not it. I'm not trying to convince anyone of anything. I'm looking for those that already know they want to putt better. They want to commit the time. They can logically conclude, as I've said before, that it's attainable to anyone. Putting well it's it's there for everyone because the motion is so short. You have to recognize that there's very few physical limitations to being able to putt well. But as I said earlier, the point is, if you look at overall approach, proper setup, must have mechanics, reading greens, on course execution, only one of them is actually physical in its focus, the must have mechanics portion. And again, that I simplify that to the point where my transition from doing it from the right side to doing it to the left from the left side was very minimal outside of getting my visual setup. But the reality of the actual motion, the action of the putting stroke is identical from the right to the left and vice versa. If you're already If you're already left-handed, if you're left-handed and you want to go back to the other side, it would be the same. So 30-day money back guarantee. I'm not looking to convince you. If you're not convinced, don't do it. If you are convinced, do it. And if it doesn't work, send me an email and you'll get your money back. And that's my commitment. That's my promise. That's the guarantee for puttingissimple.com.